What is up, down and sideways, beautiful people of this earth? Welcome back. It's League on Lock. We are previewing quarterfinal action here from Worlds as the teams all travel to Madrid for the Elite Eight. And after Fnatic finally got their revenge, Reckless specifically gets his revenge against Uzi and RNG, eliminating them, they are rewarded with the top seed from the LPL. Second seed wasn't good enough. They're going up against Fun plus Phoenix, but if you are Fnatic, you are very happy with how this draw went. This is the best possible first seed that you could have gone up against, mainly because the other three are Koreans and looked extremely dominant in their wins. I think Fnatic has a very legitimate chance at this in this one. The gold numbers here, by the way, are very skewed. I mean, Fun Plus, they basically had ridiculous gold leads, 5K at 15 minutes in some of their wins against J-Team and GAM eSports. But Group B was so many tiers below the other three groups when it came to just overall execution and quality of gameplay. So really the numbers, there's not as much to take from, but we know the early game is still rock solid for Fun Plus, and for Fnatic, you cannot get into those early deficits where you're looking at even a 1 or 2K gold deficit at 15 minutes, because Fun Plus will absolutely snowball that. They will be fighting left, right, and center, especially when they have any kind of gold lead. We know Fnatic will never shy away from a fight, but when you're already at an early deficit, things are going to snowball pretty damn quickly. So it just comes to the first 10 minutes of laning and at least, going even or not huge deficits, and Fnatic is more than capable of that. They have pretty solid laners across the board, so they shouldn't be too concerned about that. Fun Plus, it took them a while to finally find their stride. I mean, both of these teams, it was all about week 2 where they finally started to turn things on, but for FPX, even in week 2, it wasn't fully online until the very last 2 games that we saw them playing. And we still haven't quite seen the consistency of that #1 seed that almost set a winning percentage record when it comes to the LPL all time. We haven't seen that level of Fun Plus. We'll see if we get it here in a best of series, because it'd be disappointing if they bowed out of this tournament before we finally saw them reach those incredibly high ceilings that we were talking about when they were a top 3 favorite for this entire event. But even though they are still looking very good, Fnatic is absolutely in this match for me, and it's, again, these quarterfinals are some of the closest ones we'll have ever seen because they're not such huge favorites on one side of it, save for SKT, but this one is pretty close to even, and it's because across the board they're somewhat evenly matched. Top lane, Gimgoon versus Whippo. Gimgoon, I was definitely underwhelmed with his performance, and yeah, yikes. Look away at some of these numbers for these guys. Gimgoon contributed to less than half of the team's kills. The damage numbers, obviously, a lot of the time, that damage percentage number, if you're not talking about 80 carries, it's heavily influenced by what you're playing in that top lane. If you're playing some kind of tanks, you're not going to be doing tons of damage. But the laning numbers, gold, XP, and the CS numbers you see here were not anything to write home about for both of these guys. And we've seen the laning numbers, they share this in common. It doesn't matter for them because they can completely turn a game around in some of these team fights. Both guys absolutely love the gangplank, so expect that to be a heavily contested pick in this one. Whippo remains pretty much the only guy playing Urgot in 2019. You'd think he'd have some nightmares based on some of the ways his Urgot games ended last year at Worlds against IG, but he does not deter or is not scared of it. He plays it up there. I expect some solo kills in this matchup. I feel like the edge should slightly go to Gimgoon in this one, but this one is pretty much a toss-up here. I think Whippo is, he's kind of a coin flip. He's the Ning of the top lane. He can completely steamroll a lane or never figure out how to lose gracefully and get way too behind and be a detriment to his team. So top lane, pretty close to a toss-up. The jungle matchup, Tien versus Broxa, is pretty hype if they're both playing at their peak levels. We've seen Broxa previous Worlds perform as one of the best junglers at the entire tournament. Really, the reason his numbers aren't more impressive is because he had such a horrible horrible week one that it brought down pretty much everything across the board, except for his KDA, which he always manages to be near the top. I think the edge here still goes to Tien, just because he is so aggressive, and FunPlus pretty much runs absolutely everything through him. We've seen him capable of playing around all 3 lanes, and that was something that people spoke highly of him for. Again, the majority of the summer split is that anyone on FunPlus can carry a game, whether it's DoinB, Gimgoon, or LWX. Tien was an absolute beast in the jungle, and we saw him again step up. He is not afraid to make those high-risk, high-reward plays, and more often than not, he does come out ahead. And just the ability to make those plays, I give him the slight edge over Brox. The mid lane matchup, DoinB versus Nemesis. Listen, Nemesis is really going through the gauntlet of world-class mid laners here at this tournament. He's already played Xiaohu, Faker. Now he gets DoinB, the #1 seed. He's just carving up MVPs of different regions, and he absolutely stood up to the test in that group of death. He was, I mean, we had him highest ranking Fnatic member on the post-group top 20 rankings that we did. He absolutely deserved it. He's played already some interesting picks with the Vigar and the Cassiopeia, and obviously this guy's going to be drawing Twisted Fate bans for pretty much the entirety of the tournament, as it looks like. So it's hard to give him an edge against DoinB. I think the champion pool is still much deeper for DoinB in this matchup, just because, I mean, who else is going to be playing Scion or Nautilus mid and going full tank? And that might be a counter that Nemesis might not be ready for, but I fully expect him to be prepared for that. He always has some interesting picks planned, but the pressure does not get to this guy, and probably because Nemesis is borderline a robot. If you see any interviews with him, he is completely unfazed by who he's going up against. Obviously a guy who's playing with no nameplates on. Both of these guys are pretty unproven internationally, but if we're going purely based on the group stage, I'm actually giving a slight edge to Nemesis, which is insane to think of coming into this tournament because we had DoinB in at #1. But this is a statement matchup for both of these guys. When we look at the bottom lane, Reckless versus LWX, you have a runner-up for the MVP award and maybe the most disappointing member for me from FunPlus in that group stage at the very least. But this is a tough one. I mean, Reckless, obviously, I mean, the guy played a Morgana game and a Garen game. So, yeah, the damage numbers look very bad as a sub 20% as an AD carry. But I think this one is pretty even. I think Reckless got a big demon off of his back going up against Uzi, and he played traditional marksman to do it. He didn't cop out, as people were going to say in that final matchup for them. I think the edge is slightly to LWX just because he had higher highs throughout the majority of the summer split, and if he can reach those again, then the advantage is going to him. But the bot lanes in general are pretty even in this one with Hylissang and Crisp. You throw them in as well. Hylissang, obviously, he can completely take over a game. He can be split pushing as Pike. I mean, you have no idea what you're going to get from him. But he's definitely going to roam a little bit more than Crisp, I think. And Hylissang, for all the ups and downs that you're going to get from him, if he strings together a couple of games where he does influence the rest of the map, he gets Nemesis ahead, or invades with Broxa, or even runs all the way top and gets Bwipo ahead, which we've seen him do countless times for Fnatic, then you could give an edge to them. But overall, the bottom lane, slight edge to FunPlus, but I still don't have confidence in the first seed from the LPL. I think Fnatic has a lot of momentum coming in here. I think they're happy they got a Chinese team. I think Fnatic gets it done. And again, I expect this one to go to 5 games, but it is EU, and Fnatic going to the semifinals, back-to-back World Championships.